Welcome to Matador Memories, the podcast that explores California State University Northridge's history and its impact on the region. I'm your host, Carmen Ramos Chandler, and today with me is Heather Cairns. She's the Associate Executive Director, of University Licensing, which is a lot of words to say that one of her responsibilities is to oversee filming on campus. For those of you who are movie buffs, I think your biggest memory will be of the massive tournament scene in The Karate Kid. Well, guess what? That was filmed at CSUN, but that wasn't the only memorable movie that was filmed here. Heather's going to tell us all about them.
I can remember.
How long have you been in the position where you've been overseeing the filming on campus?
Since 2007, actually.
And let's lay the foundation. Let's remind everyone, we're in Hollywood already. We have one of the top film programs in the entire country, if not the world, and we have one of the top music programs
Correct.
in the country. So that makes us a destination, doesn't it?
Yes, and being so close to Hollywood, absolutely, people like to come here.
What about the campus that attracts them?
Pretty much everything. I mean, just the diverse spaces, the outdoor areas, the modern buildings. There are so many hot spots on this campus. Athletics areas, the Soraya, of course, as soon as that building opened, became very popular. The rec center, the university library, just about everything. And then when people tend to come here for one space, they see what we have, and suddenly it's like, oh, can I do more? I'm going to come back here. It's so great. So it's just a beautiful place to film.
Now, what are the steps if I were Martin Scorsese and I wanted to film on campus? What would I have to do? And is it really arduous, or do we try to make it easy?
And we try to make it as simple as possible. And what's really cool about our campus is we've got wonderful campus partners who know how to do this, who work very responsibly in their areas so they can get back to you quickly. So our process is pretty simple. We reach out to like 5 core areas and say, hey, we've got this on this date. We're looking to do this in these spaces. What do you think? And we'll get almost an immediate response. We don't have this master calendar that talks about all the nooks and crannies. You know that because we've talked about that for years. But if we reach out to these key areas, we'll get an answer and we'll have a really good idea about what's possible. And then the next step is to bring production to the campus and tour the sites and see what we have and share. And then that usually leads to more questions, more places to go. And then again, we kind of regroup and, look at academics and other programs and make sure we're not conflicting. But then we can really get down to the details with the production company.
So CSUN allows Hollywood's imagination to run wild, doesn't it?
Yes.
What are some of the things that have been filmed on campus? That's what everybody cares about anyway.
Yeah. Well, Star Trek. So I think most people have heard of that or seen it. You wouldn't really know you're on the campus because of all the cool work they did to the outside of the library. But in front of the library, that was the crux of that shoot.
Let's pinpoint. Star Trek Chris Pine version.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for that correction. Yes. And then once they were here, they actually did some other small scenes in the Brown Center, some classrooms, but really the quad area was the main location.
And the main thing was we were
Starfleet Academy.
How could you not want to be Starfleet Academy?
I know. And you know what's really cool about that story for me? I was pretty new in licensing when we filmed that. And because of what it was, they didn't want to tell us what it was. Mm-hmm. But of course, to a certain degree, we need to know what it is. And I'll never forget all these folks from Paramount came to our office and we had, leadership over because we didn't know what they wanted to film, but they were just really excited to be at CSUN. And it really wasn't until probably a month into it before we kind of got some clues as to what it was. And then, of course, the whole NDA, and you probably had to sign something with the script. And even when we did the tech walks, I remember there'd be like 25 people from Paramount on campus, and they're all kind of huddled around and wouldn't let me see what was going on. And I have to see what's going on. And I'll never forget one of the location managers, she had a binder, and she's like, come here. And she opens it, and I saw some pictures. And then she closes it really quick, and she's just like, And so that was my clue. And I appreciate that she knew I needed to know more and could trust that I wasn't going to, tell everybody. So, but anyway, it was overall a really cool experience.
I think we should explain to our audience that when you said I am familiar with the NDAs, I am, because I am the person who reviews the scripts.
Yes.
And gives almost final approval about whether they can actually come onto our campus or not. And I will qualify that by saying we have a code of conduct and a code of expectation for our students as how we maintain and continue to keep our community thriving and growing. And those are the standards with which I hold the film industry, the television industry, the music video industry, the advertising industry, to. Anything that we would not tolerate from our students, I will not tolerate from them. End of discussion. Mm-hmm. Which cannot make them happy sometimes.
And we don't have a lot of that. I mean, just in my history, I can barely think of anything that
I can think of one, but that's it.
Yeah. And you are so fast with that part of it. So we always appreciate that too, because when production companies come here and they like it, they move fast.
Yeah.
So we appreciate that everybody we work with also works fast.
I will tell, I promised I'd share the NDA, which is a non-disclosure agreement, story that I had. Before Heather came here, we had a request to film the finale of the very final season of that iconic American television, world television, seminal television show, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I confess I was a huge fan at the time, and they wanted to film the final confrontation with the final big bad on our campus. And I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement so I could see the script to make sure that nothing happened on our campus that I wouldn't allow to happen on our campus. So they had it messengered to me. And the messenger had me sign another receipt saying I had received it and another copy of the NDA. So it was enforced that I knew I could not disclose this to anybody. And I got the final 2 scripts of the season finale of Buffy, the series finale of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I read them. There was nothing wrong. I approved it. And they were going to send a messenger back to pick up the scripts so that they wouldn't fall into the wrong hands, because it was a big deal. Everybody loved this. This was a cult series. So I held on to the scripts, and I held on to the scripts, and I held on to the scripts. They came and went. They filmed on campus, and I still had the scripts. Since I had sworn never to share them with anybody, I shredded them. If I had saved them, can you imagine how I could have paid for my kids' college education? But I tell that story to this day, and people tell me, you didn't keep them? I said, but I promised not to share them.
Integrity of your work, so absolutely.
What are the films that you can recall coming to campus?
We tend to do more TV shows than that. So, I mean, we did American Idol. Mm-hmm. We were Hollywood Week. We really wanted them to disclose they were at CSUN, but that would conflict with Hollywood Week, so that didn't work. But that was another really intense couple of weeks. I mean, they filmed like 12 days straight, crazy, crazy hours. That was the first kind of reality-ish type of show we did, and just a very different experience. They just overtook the Soraya. And then the judges at the time kind of had their own following of folk, so that triggered different types of security and coverage, and just a lot more staff that had to work that. But that was a really cool experience too. I mean, just to see that, finally on TV was just like, that is so cool. It's at CSUN. So
I do remember once, and God forgive me, I cannot remember the name of the movie, when the university library ended up being a grand stage for filling in for the Cannes Film Festival.
Yes.
I can't remember. I do remember Sean Penn.
I can picture it, and I can't remember the name. I think that was before my time, but I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and Sean, all these big names, including Sean Penn, and it may have even been a Scorsese film. I hate to say it, but it may have been. And no one knew. And then finally, when the movie premiered, they get all these emails. How did CSUN get at con?
Right. And then Sky High.
Oh,
another
Sky
one.
High.
You just can't tell. And if you don't know, you don't know. So
I will never. This seems more like a conversation with me. But I will never forget when Buena Vista Pictures, which was the production company that produced Sky High, reached out to us to film on campus. And the script was perfectly innocuous, and we were to be Sky High, the high school for all the children of superheroes and potential superheroes. What stood out to me about that production was how generous with their time everyone on that crew was, and the actors. We have one of the top film programs in the world, and when the students found out this was happening, and the set designers and the people who build the sets and the choreographers and the special effects people were on campus redoing the university library, so it's like Sky High and not like our university library, the students would go up to them and ask questions. And what struck me so much about that production team is they said, you want to learn? We're going to share. And the choreographer invited the students, and we have a really amazing dance program, and they invited the students to come and watch as he did the choreography, not just for the cheerleaders' dance routines, but he also did some of the choreography for the fight scenes. And they invited the students to come and watch that. And the production team that were building the walls out in front of our library for the high school, and they told the students, come, we'll show you how we built them, and when we strike the set, come back and we'll show you how we made this, and you can take pieces of this. Everybody on that production team, the camera people, all of them were just so patient. I don't remember a script coming back to me from Buena Vista, but I always look because I think about them and think how generous the entire team was. And I think, I want them back.
Yeah.
I love you.
There's a lot of them that are like that. It's really, they know they're in our home and they want to come back, and they appreciate how easy we are to work with. And in turn, they like to share with our students as well. So it's a really cool win-win situation.
So what are some of the other shows? First off, tell me about, I know it's grown because of this relationship. Tell me about the opportunity for our students through your office when the movie
So we created what we called an extras program, so that if students were interested in having hands-on experience, they could sign up in this database that we created on our website, and we give those lists to production companies. Nowadays, they're called background instead of extras. But every now and then, we'll get a crew that says, hey, we need some students, or staff, anybody to just kind of be in the background. So it's been pretty successful over the years. We do have to keep bringing it up. We don't get asked usually, but once people know that we're willing to do that, they're interested.
And we also have the shadowing opportunities on occasion?
Yes. Sometimes, like if we need a PA or something, a little bit higher level position, then we'll get to pick students to help participate there. So really cool opportunities, yeah.
What are some of your favorite memories or oopses that happened when we were filming on campus?
I have an oops from very early on. We did Knight Rider, not the original version, the later pilot version. But we had the kit car came to campus. That was really cool. But I'll never forget that first evening. They were prepping inside the library. It was raining. Power outage, major power outage on campus. I think it was a transformer or something. It was in December. University gets shut down, and I'll never forget being at home going, oh, what's going to happen to this film shoot, And long story short, after talking to the chief of police, talking to my boss at the time, production begging me, please let us stay, please, we will bring in the power, we'll do whatever we have to do. And we let them do it. And they successfully completed their shoot, and they were so grateful because, they're in the middle of it to have to pick up and move in the middle of the night, find another venue. would have been really challenging. Yeah. And the other kind of, not really an oops, but I was new in my job at the time, and the kit car was driving pretty quickly through the middle of campus and would end up doing like a donut in front of Manzanita Hall. Now, I was like beside myself. Oh my God, they're going to crash into the building. And it all went very smooth. We had to clean the concrete, but it was for a new person in that, it was like, but you get through it and you realize how professional these companies are, and they know what to do. And it's like they were never here when they left.
Now, tell me some of the favorite stories. We had the oops, but what are some of your favorite stories?
Favorite stories, I would say, well, when we did SWAT episodes, we've done a few. So Shamar Moore came to campus, and not only was the production super easy to work with, but he wanted to meet our students. And it's not often that an actor will be here long enough to do much other than their scene and they leave, and they just don't have time to interact with our community.
And particularly someone who's of that level of fame.
But he wanted to meet people. He was in the quad, let autographs, pictures. I mean, you name it. He just offered the time, and our students had a blast. I mean, they just thought that was the coolest thing. And that was just really special for people to be a part of. Because again, we're not used to that. It's pretty rare.
I do remember the word trickling. I mean, we are a university, which means we gossip like crazy. And word trickling from staff and students about this, how kind he was and how generous it was. And I remember putting it in my little file cabinet in my head, he makes a request again?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. Right. That little things like that, which was a big thing, actually. But it goes so far. And look, we're still talking about it. What's another one? CSI. We did some CSI episodes. And the one that I remember the most was the exterior of Sierra Tower. Mm-hmm. It was supposed to be a dorm. And they were supposed to enact somebody falling out. So they had to go inside the building, which turned out to be in a faculty member's office. There was just a lot of planning to get there. And then, of course, the body fell, didn't really fall, but then you have that on the ground. It was really another really cool thing to watch afterward. It was just the hours and hours and hours for something that took a few minutes when you actually watched it. So
that's kind of cool.
And so much happens in the Soraya. A lot of TV shows. We did I don't know why this sticks in my head because I see it now and then, is a Southwest Airport commercial. And you don't even know that they're going to do that to the lobby, right? And it was perfect. And the people dancing and the lights, and that one sticks in my head a lot. It was just really cool.
What are some other films or television shows that you remember filming here?
The Office, long time ago. That one it was like a walking scene. I can't remember the exact location, but there was a walking scene. I feel like it was in the quad, probably. This Is Us, Lucifer, a lot of things just walking around outside where there wasn't a lot of building filming, but outdoors quite a bit. The
Good Place.
The Good Place, several episodes.
Of their final year.
Yeah,
Why are we always the final year?
I know, right? Legally Blonde. I don't even remember that. Manzanita Hall. I think, is it the second floor or the third floor? But I'll never forget the scene where she's running down the hall in her pink high heels. That was kind of fun. They built this whole bank of lockers so it would appear like a school hallway. Mm-hmm. And then they didn't even use them. So they spent like a day and a half prepping this, what really looked legitimate. And then we're going to go somewhere else. So okay. But so all that kind of Hollywood stuff that just really takes a lot of time for a little bit of camera time.
Tell me a little about Oroville and Bees.
Oroville. So that was another in front of the library shoot. And this huge kind of spaceship-looking thing is parked in front of the library. That got a lot of attention, of course. And again, a crew who allowed people to come take pictures, and students and everybody really loved having that time when they were done shooting. Just another cool.
But didn't some bees settle on some equipment?
I don't remember that.
Oh, yeah. Wasn't it summer or late, either early fall or late spring or over the summer? And we had to call a faculty member. because it had settled on one of the lighting generators.
Oh, okay. I that's coming back to me now. Yes.
And they had to halt production.
Okay. I
But we
remember
have
that.
to protect our bees.
Yes, absolutely.
And the predecessor to the person who's in the position now, who directly works with the film crews, was like, I hope they don't leave. They were in the middle of it. They're
Right.
in the middle of it. And they were quite gracious as we scrambled to figure out how to move. We're not talking 20 bees.
Yeah.
We're not talking 200 bees. We're talking a whole hive
Yeah.
of bees. And we had a fact. We are a university.
You've got to be someone.
And there was someone on campus. And I remember I came out at some point just to see how things were going because there could be a crisis. Somebody get stung.
Right.
And I don't know what the position was on the crew. And it's a female faculty member. And she's handling it all. Wow, she's awesome. And I thought, we're awesome.
Right, right.
And there was production. She moved the bees. Mm-hmm. And production resumed. But it was like 2 days.
Yeah,
like
it was a
that.
couple days. Yeah.
And they didn't get mad at us.
Yes. Well, and to your point about the people who work here who help support and make these things happen, I mean, we have such wonderful employees here who all come together. And over time, my office has really come to a place where we know we're going to figure it out. If something comes our way, something unplanned, something at the last minute that gets changed, because that happens all the time, and we're like, we didn't talk about that. But we know who we can call to help kind of problem solve and get someone there that maybe wasn't scheduled to work, but they now need to be here because of the nature of the work. And it's just great to have the person who can help, finish it, make it happen.
What did the production, I know you're upfront. Your office is very upfront about the restrictions we have. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest with you, nudity is one of the restrictions. And we are talking 2024, we're for television, cable, and a bunch of other things. They have slightly lax standards to us. How do they react when you lay out the rules and regulations, so to speak?
We rarely get pushback. Every once in a while, but it's like, well, we'll change that scene, or we'll change this, or we'll do something different to avoid that. I mean, honestly, very little pushback. It's pretty amazing that that's the case, but it's very uncommon. What I also appreciate is if there's something like we've had shooting scenes, right? And usually people are very forthcoming and they'll bring it up. We just got to tell you, this is what we'd like to do here. If we can't, we understand, we move on. Mm-hmm. But we actually work through that too. So again, it's the transparency. If we can know straight away what the goals are, we can figure out how we can make it happen.
Do you ever run across alum on the sets?
Me personally, no, but I am sure they're out there. I don't see how they couldn't be, just because we're everywhere. So
there's a show that has not yet debuted on HBO, but I know it's going to happen. And I was looking at the script, because I have to approve the script.
Yes.
But I often don't look at who's starring in it either.
Yeah.
I'm just reading
It's not
the
what
damn
you're looking
script.
for. Yeah.
I'm not looking for it. I just need the context of the scenes that are being filmed on our campus, so that I want to know what's happening before the scene on our campus and what happens after, because those can have a reflection on the university, intentional or not.
Right.
They're not usually intentional, but our students and our alum and our faculty and our staff will say, that's my campus, and that horrible thing should not happen on my campus. Mm-hmm. So I was reading the script and I said, this isn't bad. I think if this were a book, I'd want to read it. It's actually fun. And I said, I should look up who the screenwriter is. And I'm like, oh my God.
An alum.
That's an alum. Or the producer. Oh, that's an alum. Or the actor. Oh my God. Mm-hmm. That's an alum. And you look, oh, the actor is also the executive producer of.
Yeah. Location managers, a fair amount of them will be from campus. And that sometimes triggers them coming to our campus because it's familiar to them.
Yeah.
So,
Or, with one location manager I know, their children came to his campus.
Yes, I know, right?
What Do you think our proximity to the studios helps?
Absolutely, for sure. And we've become, like, we try to do trade shows and participate in locations type events because we're so close. And then we can just, we're right over here. We're a very flexible university. Some campuses only film on the weekends. Well, we can do 7 days a week if it fits within our business without disruption. So I think our flexibility and being that close just lends itself to a lot more activity here.
Let's make it clear, though. Education comes first.
Absolutely.
So it cannot.
Absolutely. No. We try to fit things in between our existing business, and if we can do so smoothly, not disrupting business, we will move forward.
In the years that you've been doing this, have you sat down in front of the television or the laptop or in the plane or someplace and suddenly go, I forgot?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, we did we call it a sizzle reel. We did a video several years ago to put on our website, and a predecessor of mine worked on it. And just watching that, I was like, I forgot about that. I forgot about that. And there's so many of them. It's just a really cool video that we need to keep updating because it gets out of date quickly.
Yeah. It was funny watching the final season of The Good Place. And I read that script.
Right.
Several months ago.
Yeah.
I know how this is going, and my family erupting when they see Magnolia Walk or Baranian Hall.
Right. Well, even just a lot of requests for auditoriums.
I know.
Like Noski, we've done a lot in that space.
A lot of commercials.
Yeah.
What are the favorite spots on campus?
Soraya, hands down. The rec center, exterior. Library, of course. Manzanita Hall. The arena, the Premier America Credit Union Arena, is very popular. Hard to get into because, again, so much business there. Our pools get a fair amount of interest. Yeah, and I think it's because I think they're hard to get into in other spaces, but because we have a number of them, we're able to work that out logistically.
What has the Soraya been besides American Idol?
Well, Southwest Airlines. We've done Capital One Bank commercial. Ballers, a scene was filmed there.
More than one.
More than one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Transcendence, the Johnny Depp movie, was there. So You Think You Can Dance. I mean, we've just the whole gamut.
And what about Redwood Hall?
Redwood Hall, mostly the gyms, but then once you're there, classrooms get used, hallways get used. But the arena is definitely the hot spot there. So, yeah.
How did it become so sexy? Besides the fact that Karate Kid, before it looks like it does now,
Yes.
had filmed there.
That's a good question. I mean, it's been renovated a few times, but I think the accessibility of it is helpful because some places you just can't get all the things you're looking for under one roof, and that building does offer that, especially if they're doing something at a field, but then they need a gymnasium close by, then it kind of works as a good package. So,
Do you remember anything that was filmed there?
we did one of those cheerleading movies. Why can't I remember?
Bring It On.
Yes, yeah. But it was like the fifth or sixth one. But they did a lot of things in that gym. And that was actually a funny story with that. We were not permitted to show the floor.
Oh, we were putting
in its entirety because it, at the time, probably said Matadors or something. And we're not supposed to be at CSUN, right? Well, when I watched the movie, and I'm at home and watching it, it's a silly movie, but, it's CSUN, I'm going to watch it. And they did some gymnastic twirling sort of thing, and the camera was up here, entire gym floor on the screen, and I'm like, thinking, I'm going to get in so much trouble, and it happened so fast, but I was like, how did we miss that, They probably just did it, but
that
anyway.
does happen on occasion.
Yes, right, but, with that movie,
Yeah.
not a big deal.
Anything else that sticks out? I mean, you have a fun job. At least that portion of the job is fun.
It's exciting. I have to say, what's really cool also is we get asked by other campuses how can we do this on our campus? So we've helped other CSUs kind of launch their programs. And then when they're kind of going through the growing pains of talking to production companies, wanting to know what to ask and all of that, it's really cool to be able to help other institutions do that. Yeah. So we've had a lot of fun in the past few years doing that too.
I like to hear that the film crews, production companies, don't have a problem with our rules. You know, it's not that they're hard rules, but they are rules of respect.
Right. And I guess we're so used to it, I don't even think twice about it. You know, we lay it all out and then we make a decision or not. And we're pretty flexible. I mean, we've done road closures. Like I said, we've had some shooting scenes. We've done things underwater. I mean, we're pretty flexible. We've been on rooftops. So as long as the safety is there and we're working together with our campus folks, I mean, we're pretty flexible. So
it's actually pretty cool because we do have a film program.
Yes, right.
So we have to be understanding of what it is. So you think that lends to our flexibility? Is we actually, since it's part of what we do?
I think so. And I think just as a university, we like to be supportive of all kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And again, because we're treated very well by these companies, we want to give that back and we want to help them make their jobs successful. So it's all around just a great relationship.
Have you ever watched the first Karate Kid?
Years ago, yes.
But in your position now, as you look back on that final scene, and there's no way you do not recognize any corner of this campus.
I saw it recently, actually.
And how did that feel?
It was really cool because I knew what it took to get there. Mm-hmm. And even that scene, it's just a portion of the gym, but how they made it look like the whole gym. So you just, in your mind, you know all the prep that went into that, how long they filmed, and then all the work to get out and the approvals leading up to it and just the audience that was there. So a lot of work goes into that.
Every few years, I'll get a phone call from a entertainment publication, online or even a print publication, and will ask me about that scene. Mm-hmm. Mind you, the film came out in 1984. Mm-hmm. I was still in college, and I was in this university.
Yeah.
But the affection that movie's fans have for the Matador, or what now is Premier America Arena, is astonishing.
Mm-hmm. Well, we had a company come out recently that was trying to do, what's the word I'm looking for? They wanted to replay the movie in that space. Uh-huh. So they were trying to create an event out of it. And this company went to different places in the valley and did movies. And so they were trying to do that movie there for
I remember that.
Yeah, and it didn't, dates, we couldn't work it out. But just that alone, I think, speaks to that because it was, what are the cool things that can happen in the San Fernando Valley? And we're looked at as one of those places to do things like that. So it's kind of cool.
How do you think our alum feel when they sit down someday in front of the screen and they'll go, oh?
I think impressed. I mean, I'm an alum and I had no knowledge that that's happened here before I started working here. As a student, I don't remember any of that. So again, over time when you learn all of this, it just adds to this place, you know, cool things.
To add to that, as an alum, do you find yourself, as you look at the scripts, or you're approached? Mm-hmm. This is my home. You guys better respect it.
Absolutely. Yes. We've had instances where at the last minute we're asked something that just can't happen. You get pushed back once in a while. But I've often said, you know, for you, it's one day. For me, I work with all of these people every day. So this is our place. So we need to respect that, and then we'll help you get what you need done. So
do you think
definitely protective? Yeah.
As an alum, it just gives you more.
Yes. Oomph. Or just as an employee, you know, I'm proud to be here and I want to make sure it stays intact with what we're managing here. So
how long have we had someone to help facilitate filming on our campus?
Well, the corporation took over the department in 2003. And then I don't recall how many years the campus was doing it.
They just
prior
had
to that.
some person.
It wasn't like an organized program from my understanding. But 2003 is when we took it over, and it's just been growing very successfully ever since.
Heather, I thank you so much for joining us for
Absolutely.
this
Thanks for having me.
episode of Matador Memories, and I thank all of you for joining us. And don't forget to tune in for the first Monday of every month for the latest episodes of Matador Mondays, and then the third Monday of every month for diving into the discourse when we explore faculty research on this campus. Thank you again for joining us.